It was like right in the
It's okay, it's a white angle.
Hi everyone, I'm Deepthi. Whoever's joining us virtually, I'm the president of DDA. Thank you so much for everyone for coming. I know it's the weekend before Thanksgiving, but it's also our second to last meeting of the semester. So just thought it'd be a good idea to introduce ourselves and also talk about Thanksgiving plans. So hopefully it doesn't involve messing up dinner like Woodstock and Snoopy are. But I leave home for home on Wednesday back in Maryland, and besides all the dinner and Black Friday jazz, one of our family friends just recently got engaged, so I'm gonna be going and visiting her and my future brother-in-law, I guess I like to say, because she's like a sister to me, so that's exciting. Yeah. Let's see, who wants to go next?
I guess I can go next. So I'm Mary and I'm the faculty advisor. I don't really have plans yet. It's, that's kind of lame. I'm probably gonna end up just going to a friend's and having like a Friendsgiving, which is what I normally do here in Durham because my family in Connecticut is far away. So and it's expensive, and yeah, I'll be traveling to see them probably for Christmas. So I sort of save it up for that and just spend Thanksgiving with friends here in Durham.
That's good. Trent?
All right, I'm Trent. I'm the treasurer of DDA, and for Thanksgiving, I'm just heading back home to Miami to get out of this cold. Hopefully, I'll do the traditional Thanksgiving things of my family, which include catching lobster and shooting fish. And yeah, that's basically it.
I heard that backwards. I heard shooting lobsters and catching fish.
You can do it either way.
How do you shoot fish?
With a spear gun.
You go spear fishing?
Yeah.
It's fun. I know some people.
That's kind of cool. I'm Michaela. What am I doing for Thanksgiving? I'm driving home tomorrow. I live in Kentucky, so it's an 8-hour drive, so I'm not super psyched.
No.
But then I get an extra day to see my boyfriend on Tuesday, and then I'm gonna just hang out and go eat Thanksgiving food with my grandparents and stuff. Yeah.
Fun. I'm Simon. I'm the person who's supposed to manage the emails that he doesn't get. And for Thanksgiving, I'm getting home and just having a good time.
Where's home?
Oklahoma.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Oh.
I'm not driving because that's a 14-hour drive.
Yeah.
You can, on the right highway, you can skate that. From here to Florida is like a 13-hour. Did it, yeah.
You can drift around the mountain roads, or the cliffs on one side. The walls on the other.
I'm Matt. This is my first meeting, but I'm excited to be here finally. I'll probably go home on Tuesday to Charlotte, and then we'll go from Charlotte to Atlanta to see family.
Fantastic.
I'm excited to see family. It'll be nice.
That's awesome. Okay. Well, any updates on the website? We've had
Finding access to the other one.
Yeah, Maddie, who's not here, she's also a sophomore in DDA. She's also in band, Maddie Fowler. She's been trying to follow up with Cookies and get access to the old websites, but I don't think Cookies has responded yet. So
Cookies was our old president before
Any of us
were here.
Yeah.
So
I set up the forwarding on the neurodiversity and inclusion at gmail.com
Yes, I
one,
saw
so
that.
Oh my
was
God.
good.
so at least any emails that go to that email address will come to the right place.
That's good. All right. So.
how do you reduce your internet footprint?
Yeah, I mean, that's like we were saying last time. The old website has some good stuff, so I don't want to totally delete it. But it would be great if we could change the email address that's listed there, so that if people find us there, at least they're contacting us at the right place.
Not. Okay, well, that's cool. So, Mary, you want to talk more about the faculty feedback that you got?
Yeah, let me just get that email that I sent you guys. Okay. Okay. So yeah. So we had Ua and Simran both express an interest in more community engagement at the meeting last week. And so right after the meeting, I sent an email to the Disability and Access Initiative, which is an interdisciplinary faculty working group that I started with Ashley Elrod last year through the Health Humanities Lab. And it's like a growing group, but we've been less active this year than we were last year. We've only had one meeting so far. Helping me organize a conference on disability in the disciplines for April 25th. So that's going to be my big focus for the next, for the rest of the school year really, is getting that conference together. We already have a visiting artist lined up, and that's Marina Saplina, who I'll tell you a little bit more about later. And we have Leonard Davis coming to be the keynote. So yeah, that is a big get. So that's going to be awesome. And
Leonard Davis,
Just like the biggest name in
Leonard
disability
Davis
There's
studies.
a lot of like really interesting.
he's the guy who edits every Disability Studies Reader edition. He's also the author of a book called Enforcing Normalcy from like 1995. It's on disability and deafness, but also just the construct of normalcy and helping us to recognize that that's a fiction and that actually everybody deviates from an imaginary center. So there's actually no such thing as a normal. And so
Almost
that
boring.
it helps us to, and it helps us to understand stigma a little bit better. He also, and the reason I invited him to be a keynote is not only for his work on normalcy, but also because he's someone who's just really exemplary in terms of interdisciplinary collaboration. So he's the author also of an article called The Biocultures Manifesto with David Morris. So David Morris is like a biologist, and Leonard Davis is an English professor, and they're working together on just like trying to, convince universities of the benefits of like the sciences and the humanities talking to each other a lot more, because there's this like artificial divide between like STEM and humanities, and everybody thinks STEM is the only way to like get a job, and it's like way more valuable. And so that's actually creating a kind of a crisis in the humanities, which is really unnecessary, because actually like studying humanities topics makes you better in all kinds of other, like there's all kinds of careers you can get with that, and there's all kinds of ways that you can still like go to medical school if that's what you want. And actually, according to the statistics that just recently came out, the majority of people who got into medical school last year were humanities majors. So it's just like there's this weird kind of a misperception about the value of the humanities. And so he's like kind of a pathfinder in establishing pathways of collaboration between faculty in different kinds of departments. He's also written a lot about law, right? He wrote the Bending Over Backwards article that I always assign in my classes. That's about like the history of the ADA and how law is a form of narrative, and how narrative is a form of power. And so because he's got his foot kind of in law and English and
He's quite
history,
influential.
and
What
like the
is his name again?
sciences,
Sorry?
Leonard Davis.
Oh, this is still Leonard Davis. Wow, okay.
Yeah.
Oh.
He's just, I feel like he's a good voice for the conference, which is disability in the disciplines. And so, the idea of the conference is to have Duke faculty from different disciplines having conversations about how disability studies enhances their discipline.
I think it's
Right.
fantastic.
So he'll talk about interdisciplinary collaboration for his like keynote opener. Marina is going to do something about how we can use the arts to make medical students better doctors, and specifically puppets. So she's been doing that for a long time. It's really cool.
I have a friend, Omar Khan, who was teaching the house course graphic medicine. Here he would have been.
Graphic medicine's awesome.
Yeah, he's currently back in Pakistan right now for the semester, but
He'll be back next semester.
When he's
Yeah.
back, introduce him to me or have him come to a GDA meeting and we can chat about.
Daisy, let's
coursework.
bring Omar here.
Yes.
Yeah.
of course.
It's Omar.
He's a.
He's a god. His eyebrows are legendary.
So wait, is he coming for his eyebrows or is he coming for something else?
Could be both.
Okay.
Anyway, I've been going on and on about Leonard Davis and the conference, but so that's what this faculty group is. They're the people helping me organize that and helping me to just kind of imagine what it would look like to have disability studies offered as a certificate or as a kind of program of study here at Duke. And the way to do that is to kind of invest in what we've already got. you know what I mean, like find the faculty who are already here, who are already interested in it, and just kind of teach them a little bit more so that we have the sort of foundational principles that we're all sharing, and so that we have a little bit of unity with something like a disability studies certificate. So we're working on that. And so 4 faculty members, well, 3 plus Marina, wrote back on that thread and had ideas about ways that they themselves could work with students, especially DDA students, and to make connections to the community. Some of you know Dan Ellison because he used to come to our meetings a lot. Like he's a lawyer who teaches in theater studies here. So that sounds kind of random, but he's got this really cool interest in making art spaces, museum spaces accessible to people with disabilities, and so like connecting like art and museum law with like accessibility law. And so he said that he's been working for years on, and this is a service learning course that's been offered for years, called the Durham Audio Described Art Project, and that works with people who are blind in Durham. The project is making art accessible to people who are visually impaired by learning the art of audio description. So we had an event on this. For a lot of you guys, feedback on chapel where we had someone from Arts Access kind of lead a workshop on making describing that space to someone who can't see, and like what kind of skills that involves. So that's the course that Dan Ellison teaches, and he says, I'd be more than happy to work with a group of students to expand the involvement with that local community. In fact, the more I think about it, the more I'd like to make that happen. I envision the Dada project as just one piece of the puzzle that could make Durham one of the most accessible cities for people who are blind. There's a strong Lions Club and already existing monthly meeting of people who recently became blind, the Duke Eye Center, and other supportive statewide organizations. So with Dan, it's a sort of a disability-specific project where it'd be just focusing on visual impairment. And then Adam Rosenblatt also wrote back. He's a brand new faculty member in ICS, that's International Comparative Studies. And his research, his book and publications are mainly on human rights. And he's also interested in neurodiversity. And so he says he'd like to work with undergrads, especially in a project that's related to neurodivergence or intellectual disability, and especially if it involves art making or other collaborative forms of work. So for him, it's more about like collaboration, and he doesn't want it to feel like charity, he doesn't want it to feel like sending like privileged non-disabled people into disabled communities and being like, we're gonna give you something, but it's more about like, well, what can we make together? So that's like artistic collaboration, and so I feel like Adam Rosenblatt. So I feel like just putting him into conversation with someone like Marina is a good start, because she's also interested in collaborative art making and, using that to kind of build communities around disability and chronic illness. So we can talk about Marina later, because she kind of sent us a massive thing to look through that I think we should just like look at for a minute. Yeah. And then the third faculty member is Eileen Anderson, who is in romance. Is it romance languages or romance studies? Romance studies, but she teaches Spanish, and she teaches service learning courses, and she's interested in developing like a Basque Connections or something in future. So she's just someone that I feel like we should invite to a future meeting and just see what other ideas she might have. She's really awesome. I've had coffee with her a few times, and I've known her for a while through the faculty union, so I think she's going to be a great ally in future.
Basque Connections project surrounding disability, or
just
I think part of what her service learning course is now is more like providing translation services for the Latino community in Durham. And I don't know how she envisions broadening that to be a disability service kind of project, but
we'll need
that's
more
why
specific details, since she says it does have a disability studies component.
Yeah, she has. So her class is like my class, but in Spanish. You know what I mean? So like I teach a writing course about disability studies, and she teaches a Spanish writing course about disability
Must
studies.
Be a hard Spanish course.
So yeah, like it'd be like taking my class, but having to write your papers in Spanish.
Oh.
So
I can no. My Spanish isn't that good.
So
Especially non-existent, except for Olaf.
yeah. So that's it for faculty members, and I guess that's just to sort of get that on the table, and we can invite them to future meetings and talk these things through. I think there's potential for collaboration around ideas of art, because like Dan's project is about art, Adam's interests are art, and so is Marina's. So I feel like if we want to all team up and work with students in some way, students who might be interested in
Especially
art.
with last year's project,
Yeah.
this could kind of like that already gives us funny that we've already been involved in combining the two, so doing these three meetings together.
Yeah.
When will this conference be?
The conference is April 25th and 26th. Can we do anything about this feedback?
I think it's Andrew's mic.
Oh, Andrew, could you mute your?
Oh yeah, sure. Oh, that makes sense.
Okay, thanks. I didn't. Hi, Andrew. By the way, I didn't know that you were with us.
No problem. Sorry about that.
Yeah, no, it's fine. Okay, so yeah, 25th and 26th, and it'll be the evening of the 25th, and then like all day on the 26th. And I'm hoping that DDA can be a big part of the conference. Like we're gonna have, and I've mentioned to you guys before, we're gonna have a student-led plenary in the afternoon on the 26th, where like it's basically going to be sort of a repeat of the orientation week event that we had, where we have students with disabilities talk about their experiences getting accommodations and be like, well, what would it, from the student perspective, how could Duke do better? And just like talking to a room full of faculty who care and are receptive, you know. But I feel like it's really important to have the session on accessible pedagogy be led by students, because I'm kind of tired of events where it's like, how can a bunch of administrators and like staff and faculty all talk about the stuff that students, you know, the stuff that students need. I would much rather hear from students, and I think that the other faculty in the DAI would also want to hear from students. And I feel like, you know, this is going to be a really good audience and like the best possible chance we have at improving the accessibility of our learning environments is to like have faculty hear from students, and then I feel like that'll really light a fire in terms of improving the accommodations process, making it smoother, and just changing the culture around accommodations so that professors aren't always so dismissive, you know?
Oh, it's interesting that you bring up student-led discussions, because earlier this week I met with Steph, the president of Body Banter, a student group on campus that works towards promoting body positivity on campus. She also joined us for a previous meeting. And we met and tried to hash out our idea for an event next semester, which was a student-led discussion on self-perception and identity, especially around disability and like body image. So we started a document just to plan things out, and of course I wanted to go through it with all of you guys and just evaluate it, add things where we can, and eventually circle back with Steph and make sure that this actually happens, because we're hoping that will happen in like January or February. If it happens in January, we'd want it to happen before a rush and tenting and all of those things get started.
When is that?
Like,
Tenting will start the day that we get back from break.
Oh, so we can't do it before tenting.
But I know rush starts, like we have like that half week where it's like classes start on Wednesday, and then like the rush starts like the following
Oh God.
Spring semester. Oh.
So we have to do within 4 days of the semester beginning, basically.
Yeah, so either that or we just push back until all of that is over. Yeah,
I
so
mean,
probably in February. But either way, it would be still good to start planning it out, especially reaching out to panelists, because Steph and I both thought it would be a good idea to like call people or like have students from like DDA and Body Banter and Akin, which is like another minority student group on campus. Just get a lot of different people from different groups and have them sit down and discuss.
Can I say one thing?
Mm-hmm.
So if we don't manage to do this before rushing, and we have to push it down till later, we also did talk about last meeting about observing like the rush process and seeing how we can make it more accessible. So if anything, that might actually open up an opportunity for us to do that as well.
Okay.
with body banter?
I'm kind of thinking.
No, not with
yeah.
body banter.
Just like
I'm
just
kind
in
of
general.
thinking along similar lines that I mean, a conversation about body positivity is one that's talking about how stigma get created and enforced in a culture. And isn't the rush process like
Just that. Yeah.
part of that? I mean, like, you know, I just
Manifestation.
I don't know. I'm sort of like, why is there Greek life? You know what I mean? I kind of like, can we just abolish it? But again, that would be a very controversial opinion to take. So,
Oh yeah.
Because
and
then who
I'm not a
knows
student,
Jello?
so I don't know. But yeah, it just seems to me that like Trent said, that's an opportunity to kind of critique the cultures of Duke, and I think Greek life is its own. It's a massive part of Duke's culture overall, but it's also its own like little subculture.
It reinforces.
Yeah, we talked. Yeah, because we did mention it last meeting, and I think that if we do manage to push it down, then we don't have to think of that as like a bad thing. We could take that as an opportunity to work on another project.
Yeah, for sure. Because I imagine Russian temping is just going to be a crazy time, and we want to go into next semester prepared.
I'm old.
Yeah.
I'm not rushing anything.
So,
What's the percentage of students in Greek life at Duke? Like 80? 30? I have no idea.
I think it's like 30%.
Yeah.
Oh, it's only 30? Okay.
Yeah.
It's like the more down south you go, the greater the proportion. Yeah.
Like if you go to like University of Miami, that's like 80%.
Yeah.
Really?
No
Okay.
way.
I believe. I
Meanwhile,
I don't know the exact
up
number, but it
north,
feels like it.
I mean, is it actually like a majority? Like that would be.
Yeah, in some places it's definitely the majority. Like I think like UAB, like
Okay. Right.
Wow.
But I mean, like accessibility and Rush and Greek life, there's like also, they're opposite things, but also like accessibility is also about financial accessibility. And I've heard that you have to pay dues to be in a,
Oh yeah.
You know,
It's
we also-
expensive.
it's
I
not
heard-
available to the richest students.
So for some of
how
the
accessible is
frats,
that? You can kind of,
some of the
point that out,
frats,
too.
they look at your zip codes and
Oh
just
my-
take that as
oh my God.
that as it is,
Okay. Wow.
I mean, for like some of the top ranking frats, I don't even know how the rankings work honestly, but some of the top ranking frats here, they would look at your zip codes.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not saying anything about what they do with the zip codes, but you can imagine. I don't know if that's a myth or, but I think
Are you
I've heard that
planning on
multiple.
rushing?
I was thinking about SLGs. We have a band info session.
What
just like
what are
rush
SLGs?
round table.
SLGs are like the less intense alternative to Greek life. I think I'm rushing SLGs too. It's like
They're the more
SLGs are
wholesome ones.
Yeah.
Inclusive living group. And some of them do really cool things like volunteering and
Yeah.
community.
Yeah, APO is a
Service one.
Funny.
service frat, but it's it's a service.
I think I had a student last spring who was in that.
Yeah, they do a lot of cool things. And then SLGs are
And they
just
also
fun.
don't have the gender divide that like
Yeah.
Oh,
that's
nice.
fraternities and sororities have.
Okay, so what does that mean? Selective living group?
Yeah.
Okay.
They still have a rush process, but it's like less intense than Greek life.
Interesting.
A lot less hazing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's good.
Dang, that's my favorite part.
I wanted to swallow a goldfish.
Ooh.
Anyway, coming back to this. Again, we wanted to host like a panel discussion between all these different students, either in like the Wellness Center, West Union, on a weekday, cater food, and just bring all these student groups together, which would probably in turn lead to a greater turnout. And we thought a lot about like the topic of discussion or like the main guiding like theme or question, and just wanted to make it like not make it too broad that like the discussion just devolves, but we were thinking of asking like how do experiences or lack thereof with disability and identity form perceptions of ourselves and others. What do you guys think about that?
I like it, especially the lack thereof. I think that was pretty important to put in there.
Yeah. Okay, that's good.
You guys have a lot written out.
Huh?
Was this sent in the email also?
There's a link to this document in the agenda, and if you're on exec, then
Oh.
it's also in the event planning folder. Yeah. Yeah, so, and staff included this little blurb about the link to body image, and I thought it'd be a good idea to also maybe include like a link to disability. I was thinking of calling Jay Pandey, who was our president last year, to be like the DDA representative to sit on this discussion. And reach out to him for next semester.
He will be less busy next semester.
Yeah,
He
without
better
the
be
comp,
less busy.
yeah, without that comp sci class, hopefully.
Well, yeah, and if it's at the beginning of the semester, that tends to be less intense of a time. Yeah, so you can ask him.
Yeah.
I was thinking, have you reached out to the narrative health support group at all that just formed? They like just had their first meeting last week. I don't know if any of us made it. I don't think we did. But there's a new like narrative health support group that meets on Tuesdays or something like that, and it's about disability and chronic illness and like all kinds of things. It's like their call was like just a little bit more flexible than disability, but just like any kind of health condition. And they included in their list some like common ones for college students. You know, they were like stress, anxiety, headaches, acne, everything. So it was kind of like, if we reach out to them, that they might be able to help us sort of attract a more flexible
It's called
narrative health support group. And that's through the Health Humanities Lab.
Yeah,
Do
so
we know
these are the groups that we were already thinking of reaching out to. AKIN, which is like the minority mental health group, NAMI, which is like the big mental health group on campus, Special Olympics Health Alliance, which goes out into like the gym community to host like athletic events or just health and wellness events with people with disabilities in the community. I've gone to some events before. They're really fun and wholesome. They're really like playing intramural sports like tennis or just talking about healthy eating. And these are some of the people who can learn how to reach out to. Addie is a senior who's involved with Learning Different and getting better like accommodations in the classroom and talking about like intellectual difficulties or disabilities. So yeah, it's great that you mentioned the narrative health support group. Yeah, hopefully we would get at least one person to sit on the panel discussion from each of these groups. Which would require us to like start reaching out to them. And we're also thinking of tying this in with the rec center and calling Leanne, because Leanne is a person involved in like Wilson Gym and Brody Gym, and the rec center has wanted to collaborate with us for a while. Now this would be a great way to rope her in. The staff was also a little concerned like how would we kind of like add that on. So I was thinking that we could have her maybe moderate the discussion or also talk about towards the end about like the current state of rec center accessibility and like talk about what resources there are for students and open the discussion to like what students would want. Sorry, and like my another thing that I was thinking is like a lot of times when it comes to like social issues, one critique that people have of academia is that they do a lot of talking and not a lot of doing. And of course, it's really important to emphasize that even getting to a point where we are having these discussions is very good, and it's not easy to reach that point just given all the stigma that surrounds like body image or disability. So not to like underscore the value of discussion, but also to say, you know, if you are interested in getting involved or doing something, then like reach out to Leanne and like you can promote like using the rec center or just better pedagogy about disability or body positivity. So yeah, and like we thought the structure would just be a panel discussion that could be like live streamed and then open it up to like questions and comments.
I assume we'll probably want ASL interpretation there as well.
Yes.
Okay.
Who's Ezra?
Ezra is the faculty advisor for the Body Positivity Club.
Got it.
Yes. Okay. So that is not right. And we were also thinking of using the Campus Center Collaboration Fund, which is like a fund especially for and we were thinking, one second, for food, we were thinking maybe Osaka.
Always a good choice.
Yeah. So the Campus Center Collaboration Fund is a fund especially for collaboration between two like undergrad student orgs that have different focuses on campus. And if we were to like host this event in January, then we would need to submit the application by December 5th. And if we were to host in February, we would need it by January 5th. And it requires having a clear description of the event, a timeline, and a budget, which I think we could hash out by December 5th if we choose to. But Trent, what are your thoughts on using this versus SOFC or in addition to SOFC?
I say we can give it a shot, and if it doesn't work, then we could use SOFC. If it does work, we still use SOFC because more money never hurts.
Do we have money in our account?
We have some.
Okay.
Yeah. Not a whole lot. We
Yeah.
have some.
Okay. That's good. So what are your thoughts on like this panel discussion, students to reach out to, or do you think this is a horrible idea and we shouldn't do it?
I just wanted to say I'm in NAMI,
Uh-huh.
so I can actually talk to like the president
Oh,
at
that
our
would be
next
great.
GBM. So
Yeah.
because we're pretty close, so like I could I'll talk
that'd
to
be
him. and let him
awesome.
know.
That was like the next thing I was
Yeah.
gonna say, just starting to reach out to like the different people in
there we
these
go.
groups would be really important, just given like when we want to do this, it's really important to kind of set things in stone in advance because people's schedules like fill up so fast. Michaela, if you could talk to Nami, that would be great. So is there a K in your name?
It's
Yes.
MIKYLA.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Got you, Nami.
There's so many ways to spell Michaela.
Yeah, I looked it up. There's like 130 or something.
130?
Yeah.
Okay, I did not think
there
that.
was like a list of like 130 different ways to spell it.
Wow.
Okay.
I was thinking like 3,
No,
but like
there's like Q's and like CH's and
How many other
everything.
ways can you spell Trent?
Mhm.
It's gonna add another T.
trended like
Sounds like Matt, you just remove one T. Transfer one over.
So I think what would be good also is like if we're all on board for this event and the structure that we discussed, then starting to reach out to the different representatives in these groups. Like what I can do is like I'll talk to Steph one more time and we'll write up like a formal blurb that can be emailed out to all the people, but just maybe just asking informally until then whether they'd be interested or not.
Do we have an idea of a date for this yet?
So
Because I think that depends, because that will be depending on when I am able to start applying for money.
yeah, so let's see. Just no. So we get back on the 9th. We could have it on like the 10th or 11th, but that would be very quick and require a lot of like marketing during winter break on our part. So it seems like
when does Rush end?
Rush, it's like, that's a good question, I don't
And
know.
it's like the end of January.
Yeah, I think it's like a 2-week process. I think it ends on like the 19th or the 18th. Yeah.
That's pretty short actually.
Yeah. Does
I was
anyone
thinking
know
of
when the Duke UNC game is?
February 22nd.
Yeah.
Wait, what?
I think
February
I thought it was the 20th.
It's either it's in February. Yeah, it's like
It's like around.
Oh, right, because last year the game was in March, though.
So we could do it at the end of February.
I would be like,
it's either the 20th or the 22nd. I can't remember.
huh. Yeah, that'd be getting pretty late, so. What are thoughts on hosting it between Rush and the Duke UNC game? Like, so Rush ends, but tenting is still going on.
That sounds good.
I think that
Right after Rush ends, sounds good.
Okay. So, okay. I'll read and talk to Steph again and ask her.
The Campus Collaboration Fund.
And yeah, so I will talk to her, write up a blurb as soon as possible, but yeah, could other people like kind of sign up to talk to different, reach out to different groups? So I can reach out to Jay and Cindy on Soha. Michaela is already going to talk to Nami, so that leaves people to reach out to Akin, Learning Different, and the Narrative Support,
We
Help
know the
Support
person
Group.
Liat?
Yeah, but
Sorry?
We know Liat. Liat?
Leanne?
yeah.
No, sorry, from a kin.
Liat?
Liat?
Oh, was it Liat Levin?
Yeah, 11, yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's my
Was
former
she a
student.
Oh, there you
Ken,
go.
or was
She was in a kin because she came and talked to us
Okay,
about
okay.
a kin.
Yeah.
I think that was the same day somebody from Dukes and Duchess. No, that was Olivia. Okay. Yeah, so
All my former students.
Aren't you proud?
Of course.
okay, so anybody can reach out can anybody reach out to Leah? Sorry.
I don't remember how she pronounced her name.
Liat.
Yeah, sorry.
Okay. Yeah, we could. I could maybe email. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Just ask her like, do you want to send a panelist at this? Well, should we decide a date or just invite her into the discussion?
Okay, yeah, maybe it's a good idea for me to like talk to stuff one more time before we
Settle a
start
date and then
people.
that because
And then serve.
because I think people will be more committed once everything's a little bit more solid.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, because we're just like we have this idea, and then be
Yeah.
like, oh,
It's
let us
like
know
this
later.
striking a balance between like booking people, so like don't get too busy, and also like taking the time to like have
Save the
some
date
thought.
kind of thing.
Yeah.
Okay, well, that's good.
I've relegated myself to a preferably non-speaking role, knowing my what I will say.
Yeah. But if any of you see Jay until then, tell him to like be listening
never
for
see
next
Jay.
semester.
I see Jay sometimes.
Yeah.
So not as
I
much.
see.
as
I think I see his dad. Is it his dad? His dad's on campus a lot, right? I see him a lot. I
Yeah.
think in West Union. But I like never see Jay.
Okay. So
Probably
yeah.
busy typing away,
Yeah.
designing his web. Wait, is he designing the app?
I don't know what he's doing. He's probably creating some sort of super AI.
Sounds like something in Jay's.
Yeah. Well, man, I think I added this twice, but is there anything else you wanted to talk about in terms of Marina?
Yeah, I just think that we should look at the email that she sent to exec today
Okay.
about the project so that
So
we
long.
at least know what it is. I know it's long. She just wants to have all the details about the project on the table, but if we could like read through the introduction at least together so that we at least sort of know what this project is so that we can think about it. It's a long-term kind of a thing. Can you maybe open the email and have it on the screen because so the people who aren't in exec can also read along? Right there. So I'm just gonna read some of it. She says it's a 2-year project with 2 phases of work. This spring I will be working with Mark Olson's Visual Cultures of Medicine class, co-taught with Jules Odendahl James, to research how healthcare providers, scientific researchers, politicians, and social reformers constructed and represented the policies and practices of eugenics in North Carolina through archival documents, oral histories, images, policy memos, advertisements, and medical objects. So visual cultures of medicine, it sounds like their particular culture that they're analyzing is eugenics in North Carolina, which those of you who have taken my class know that, North Carolina is one of the worst places for eugenics historically. So select key materials that are emblematic of eugenics policies, engage the broader Durham community in a series of workshops to link this history to current lived experience and an imagined future. So then she gives a more detailed description, and I'll just read the introduction part. It says, Illness Revelations will develop a radical pedagogy for health education through socially engaged puppetry practice. Over the course of 2 years, it will bring together 3 historically fragmented communities impacted by healthcare structural violence. Phase 1 will center on engaging those impacted by the legacy of North Carolina's eugenics policies from 1924 to 74, and people living with chronic illnesses and disabilities. Through an iterative process of workshops and performance dialogues, these populations will gather to bear witness to each other's suffering and beauty. Together, we will co-create a series of puppets to serve as vessels for seeing the past and imagining a new way forward. In phase 1 of Illness Revelations, we will connect 2 communities wounded by American medicine and create a conversation between them around, 1, how personal, social, and historical influences and experiences of illness and disability are embodied 2, healing and care of self, others, and community. 3, making visible the injury of erasure inflicted on both populations, stemming from how medicine constructs its view of the body. This engagement will include students in Duke University's Reimagining Medicine program who plan to pursue careers in medicine and healthcare. So yeah, it seems like it's particularly a kind of a critique and intervention on medical education, and recognizing that historically medicine has been, could have been a source of harm in a lot of cases, especially depending on the ideologies that it adopts. And so it's about kind of recognizing medicine, like getting beyond this sort of narrative of just like progress and like everything's always getting better all the time as a matter of course, and just being like, well, wait, what is our goal? How are the people who are undergoing these treatments actually experiencing them? What are their feelings on it? And just kind of creating a voice for people with disabilities and illnesses who are survivors of healthcare system, and also just recognizing that there's particular different histories regarding race and gender, and all of those things are complicated. So it's about that intersection between identity and medicine. And I think that can be cool for like, if we want to, in terms of a long-term impact that this club could help have, is like, we're at one of the premier hospitals and, medical schools in the country. And if we can change how Duke as an institution of medicine is approaching, issues of disability, and kind of set an example in sort of reckoning with a problematic past, I think that's pretty powerful. It's just, it is kind of harder to talk about this than it is about like body banter, because this is like a long-term project that would take place over the course of a couple of years. But I think that we can connect it to some of our ongoing projects, like how we want to start a community space for students with disabilities and chronic illnesses and mental health challenges, and to be a sort of a leader in being an inclusive space for students with disabilities, which we're totally not right now. But like with this group, like we can start pushing the envelope on that. And I feel like having a sort of, having a relationship with someone who's seeking to make interventions on medical practice and seeking to engage the community in this conversation, I think that could be cool long term. So I'm glad that we got time to just introduce the ideas today. Chronic Commons is something that I think we can connect with our community space. So having like a cultural center around disability.
Would you guys, Michaela and Matt, would you guys like to see Marina's email? Or do you want me to forward it to you?
Yeah, sure. That would be awesome.
Yeah.
And either way, it's totally fine. If you don't want another email in your inbox, okay.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Do that. And yeah, is there anything else?
I kind of want to hear from our newer members in terms of like what brings them here.
Yeah.
We didn't really do that kind of an intro. We talked about Thanksgiving, but sometimes it's nice to hear about like what people's connections are with disability justice, and like what kind of things you want to do with this club, and what you think can do better, any of that stuff. And also we should probably reach out to Andrew and whoever else was on the hangout and make sure they got a chance to weigh in on stuff. Yeah.
Interesting.
So to start with the people who are here. So Matt, this is my first time meeting you. So what brings you to DDA, and what are your ideas about everything?
Okay, so I heard about it from my brother who graduated this year because he worked as a line monitor with DDA.
As a line monitor?
Yeah, for basketball, they
Yeah.
would coordinate.
Oh, cool. Okay, awesome.
So I grew up with bladder extrophy, just an invisible disability. I never considered myself disabled growing up because I could do everything everyone else could. But I do like face the stigma. I kind of keep it a secret. Don't tell a lot of people. I did have to go through the process of medical accommodations this semester, which was interesting. And I was planning on joining originally like at the start of the year, but then the email somehow got mixed up. So
sorry about that.
it's okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm really excited to be involved in this kind of a community and help other people who aren't as able to speak up for themselves.
Right.
That's kind of my intention.
Sounds like you're kind of interested in like breaking down stigma, but also like I mean, depending on what your experiences were with getting your accommodations met, like making that a smoother process for students and less of a stigmatizing experience.
Yeah.
We're really glad you're here because your voice would be so important, and because you actually experienced this. And after Jay left, we were kind of like in a limbo because DDA mostly became of like not people without disabilities, and we didn't want this to become like an able-bodied group sensationalizing disability. So thank you for being here.
Yeah, so I did a lot of mental health activism in high school because I have like issues with like anxiety and depression, and I have for a long time. So yeah, I started taking Dr. Hughes' class this semester, and I think that sort of built my interest more on like the disability side of mental health, because I also never really considered myself to be disabled, but like really the communities are one and the same, and yeah, I'd kind of like to just like sort of like bridge the gap and like
Awesome.
create more solidarity there.
Yeah, that's a huge issue between the mental. Like I remember we talked about this in your class last year. It was like this friction between all these different groups. Like,
There's challenges of coalition, but coalition is like a really worthwhile thing to pursue. And I think that there is a perception, and that's why our club is smaller. There's a perception that disability means physical disability, means like visible disability, but it doesn't. Because like if you think about including all of the invisible disabilities, including mental disabilities, then it becomes a very big group, and it's not a minority, or it is a minority, but it's a very large minority, right? So I think that it's really important to kind of break down that myth as a kind of a first order of business. So thanks for being here.
Glad to have you too.
Well, I think that was it in terms of like things on the agenda. This is our second to last meeting of the semester, so we're not meeting next Sunday, but then the week after that is like the last week of classes or like beginning of reading period. Hopefully we're still allowed to host meetings, but either way, I would just love it if all of you guys could come to help wrap up this semester and look forward to next semester, things we can like do better, or things that are going well. Try to maybe get more people involved next semester. And
I was gonna say before we close out, some stuff to look forward to. There's gonna be a number of articles hopefully appearing in the Chronicle from my students on their activism projects, their public scholarship assignments, where they've been trying to like get the story told about our different activism goals. So that should be hopefully a lot of those.
Do you know what section of the Chronicle?
No, I think they're gonna submit them as op-eds for the most part.
Okay.
I'd probably be as opinion pieces. And you would send them to Frances Brose. Do you have her email?
No, you can send that to me though, and I can make sure my students have it. I think some of the groups have already reached out and like gotten some guidance. But there's also another article from a former student. So you guys know Daphne, who's been involved in the club a bit. So she's working on a very long piece that was initially, it started as like, let's talk about the Kathy McMahon Klosterman lecture that we hosted in October, but then it turned into talking about everything. So
Have you been working with her on it?
It's really good. Yeah, I looked at the draft and it looks really strong. I'm not sure. Like I think I talked to her about it like a week and a half ago, and she was hoping to drop it soon. So I don't know. I haven't talked to her since then.
Yeah, as long as
it's really strong, and it'll be really good for calling attention to all the stuff that we talk about in this room.
I wrote an essay in French about disability, and I like that feeling of just like I started talking about one thing and it just like sprawled out, and I was like, no, I need to stop myself. So I like had to redo the whole essay. Because I was typing and typing, I was like, God, this is so unfocused. It's so easy to do with this because there's so much to talk about. Right.
Well, I just wanted you guys to have a heads up that some stuff will be appearing hopefully shortly. Yeah.
So will it appear this semester?
I'm hoping. Yeah, that's the goal. With my students, it'll all be like flooded probably at the end of the semester because they're all, it's an assignment for class, so they're, trying to take their time and do it well, which is good. But yeah, I think I should be looking at they all already have a draft. And I've looked at all the drafts, and they're going to send me their second draft, and then I'm going to give them more feedback, and then probably have them submit like next week after the break. So Andrew, did you want to add anything today? We've haven't heard much from you. Or how you doing? Are you still there? Because you're still muted. We can't hear you if you're talking.
Is he muted?
Maybe he's not there.
No, he might have.
Andrew, come
Yeah.
back. Miss you.
Wait, to see if he wants to weigh in. No, we can see. We can see what you're typing.
Oh, one
though.
sec. You can't hear. That's funny.
Yeah, you have to chat. Okay. Yeah, I know Andrew told me that he had an event with the law students for accessibility, a sort of a launching event a couple weeks ago, and that went really well. So,
Did
Fantastic.
yeah, I was thinking we could ask him about that, but.
I've gotten so much, like, just support, not support, but like, interest from graduates.
Yeah.
It would be good
We
to
really need to,
include
like-
them in the body banter thing too. Then.
I'm
Yeah.
surprised that like DDA.
Or med
hasn't-
students.
Yeah.
You were saying, sorry.
I'm surprised that DDA hasn't granted, compared to where we were even just last year or especially the year before that, it's been a huge growth. So I'm kind of glad that this finally happened.
Yeah.
We now have
So
officers
we
for
now have officers for LSA at the law school. Cool.
LSA is
Law students for accessibility.
Oh yay!
That's fantastic.
I like
I'm just waiting for that group to start litigating.
Just to do
for everything.
for everything.
Yeah, we always try to do everything the nice way first.
And at least 2 people are interested in planning events regarding the issues of talking about experiencing disability in the workplace in general.
Okay,
Amazing.
cool.
We should definitely.
Yeah, Andrew, definitely keep us posted on any events so we can help generate publicity and so we can attend and
Oh,
schedule something during Disability Pride Week maybe. That'd be awesome.
Oh yeah.
oh man, that means now we can be the messengers to for just general change, and then we actually have firepower now.
We have lawyers on our side.
Oh, cool. Well,
Thank
thanks
you everyone
Andrew.
for joining us, and yeah, we will see. Have a happy Thanksgiving.
Yay!
Have some pie.
Oh my God. All right, great to see you guys.
Yeah.